Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Southampton Way Podcast. This is episode 20. So, if you've made it this far watching the pod, thank you. And if you're new, make sure to follow and sub to the YouTube because we do this every week. As hard as it might be, being a Southampton fan. So, joining me for this one is our regular, God bless him, Martin Sanders, and Rob Maddox at Saint Rob on Twitter. Sorry, X. Yes, in this one we're going to cover the horrendous 5-goal drubbing to Sunderland at the weekend briefly, but we mainly want to focus on the positives. We're going to be talking mainly about who we bought in the summer and how we rate them as footballers. Right, let's get it underway. None of us went there. I'm sure we all watched it. Rob, what did you make of the shite show on the weekend? Early kickoff Saturday clearly didn't help. What did you make of the whole thing?
Yeah. Disappointed, obviously. I mean, you can't leave a 5-0 loss and not be disappointed, right? As I said, luckily, the weekends didn't align for me to head up there, which I was a little bit frustrated about. I would have liked to be there, regardless of the drubbing. But hey, I count my lucky stars. I think we kind of knew we were obviously vulnerable defensively for large parts of the start of the season. I don't think anyone expected us to get beat 5-0 this season, though. But you have to look at it's only a loss if you don't learn from it, right? I think I've heard Russell Martin say that before. I've definitely heard that from other coaches, quite a cliche. And there's plenty to learn from that final 5-0 drubbing. I think, no one played well, let's be real. No one really took the game by the scruff of the neck, which is something you have to do in the Championship, especially going up to somewhere difficult like the Stadium of Light. I thought, Bazunu, yeah, I really like to defend him, and I think we'll come on to it, but I think he did well to keep it at 5-0. I don't think he was getting much help from his defence. Mason Holgate, as I tweeted out after the game, I do empathise with him because he wants to turn his career around. He's been there after a week, put straight into that lineup and had an absolute shambles. And I do feel for him. His family was sat in front of some of my mates at the football, and then when they would have heard some bad things, I think, which obviously isn't great. But as I said, it's only a loss if we don't learn from it. Let's hope we bloody do, because there's plenty we can take from that. And maybe it was the humbling that kind of that we needed. I mean, I don't really agree with that. I do think that we have played well this season. We have deserved the points that we've got, or else we wouldn't have won those games. But yeah, we need to learn from it. That's the bottom line. I'm not really sure about what to say about the game itself, because there isn't really any positives in my opinion to that. We've got beat heavy before. We just have to go again and make sure that we save all those goals we're going to score at Sunderland. We've got to save them for Leicester now. So let's make sure they do that. Definitely get their heads down.
They absolutely have to. Yeah, they've got time. That most of them are away right now with their international sides. Martin. Speaking of internationals, a couple of them let themselves down at the weekend. There's a bit of whirlwind opinion around Gav at the minute. No one can. I mean, it's sort of very 50-50. People saying he's nowhere near good enough to, leave the guy alone. It's not his fault. Is he literally just getting unlucky, or do you think there are certain things he can do to help himself?
Oh yeah, there's loads he can do to help himself. I think before we come on air, we said like some of his parrying stuff back into danger, and he should be getting to more than what he's getting to. Really, the manager's backed him massively, so he should have loads of confidence. But that we've got a defence that is just a little bit leaky, and we look so vulnerable. We just look vulnerable when teams have a bit of a go at us, and he's obviously going to get people peppering shots off, and that's what's going to happen in the Championship. We're going to get teams that are going to try and bully us like Sunderland did at the weekend, but he just needs to. I don't know what the answer is with Gav. Like, I want to try and defend him, like Rob said, but it's really difficult because it's not like we have somebody that we can bring him, take him out the firing line. I think he got killed last season. Really, it was just that big step last season, and there's a massive hangover for him. He was a part of a losing mentality last year, and I think it's really hard for him to kind of find his way again. He'd probably have a new goalkeeping coach and they'd be working on everything they can. But whether he'd be the answer this year, I think a top goalkeeper can be worth 12, 13 points. I'm not saying he was the answer for us, but if you watch QPR's performance at the weekend, not just saying it because my boss, but Begovic got them 3 points the weekend because he made save after save. I think he made 9 saves, and he probably got them the points. But having a top goalkeeper, not saying him, but having a top goalkeeper will be worth so much. Just that experience through the middle of the team is so important. We probably just don't have that at the moment.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because leaky for the defence is an understatement. Really, it's been shocking for Gav. And someone has put clips together of all the goals he's conceded and in off the post here, and he's got no chance on a lot of them. But you'd like to think that he would do better sometimes when you're. Rob, do you think that we can feel slightly aggrieved in some way because there was a big moment when it was poised at 2-0 and we were getting a foothold in the game. We had a bit of spell of possession and Manning was blatantly fouled in the box, in my opinion. It's a game of ifs and buts when you talk about this sort of stuff and with no VAR and stuff. But do you think that penalty is given and the whole game could look completely different? Should we cut ourselves a bit slack?
Yeah, well, it's a completely different game if that gets given and we score it, for sure. I mean, that's going to give us a lot more confidence to get back into the game. Football's a huge game about momentum, and if we could get a goal in the situation that we were in, we speak about VAR a lot last year. Obviously, this year not so much. But that's one of the things that might have went our way. We might have had stuff that didn't go our way this season already. The VAR might have overturned against us. So yeah, it's just one of those things. There's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. I think it was David Coote, the referee, the one that was demoted from the Prem, correct? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can see why straight off the bat. You can see. I don't think his performance at the weekend was fantastic. It was quite basic stuff that he was getting wrong. But yeah, it is frustrating. But we have to remember it is swings and roundabouts. In a game that we lose 5-0, it's similar to the 9-0s, isn't it? We'll get an early red card, don't get that penalty. Momentum shifts massively if we score that goal. But yeah, just with VAR, it's one of those things. We're probably going to end up later on this year having a huge penalty call or a handball or a goal that should have been disallowed go in our favour. I'm sure we will, but it's just frustrating. But we shouldn't hang our hat on not getting a penalty at that point in the game, and the reason why we lost 5-0 is just so much. We shouldn't have even been in the situation where we're 1 or 2 goals down. It's really, really basic stuff that we didn't do, unfortunately. And I'm sure Russell Martin was tearing his hair out over it. But yeah, if it gets given, great, and we score it, great. Yeah, probably we don't lose 5-0. We probably lose like 3-1 or something. Let's be real. But there were definitely bigger issues as to why we didn't, get anything from that game or why we got drubbed as we did. Before that happened. So yeah, it's quite simple, really.
Yeah, I agree. Because I don't want to spend too much time on Sunderland, I'll pose this one to the pair of you. Martin, you first. You spoke before. You said about you're not sure on our shape out of possession. That's sort of possibly what cost us. Do you want to sort of elaborate what you see when we're off the ball opposed to on the ball?
I think when we're on the ball, we're so good going forward. We look lively and there's so much about us. We look like we've got energy at times. But without the ball the weekend, we just didn't look like we wanted to close people down. We weren't sharp enough to people and just really like putting a press on from the front, but everybody doing it, not just 1 or 2. You need everybody all in. It was something we were always really renowned for under prior managers, certainly under Parch and Koeman. Always sides that would work hard for one another. We didn't work for each other, and that was probably the most alarming thing for me. Really sloppy at times. I felt really sorry for Downs in midfield. Got massively let down. Certainly by Stuart Armstrong. He didn't have a good game at all. He just wasn't at the races. It almost like we played with 2 8s and we just don't get back in and become hard to play against. That's what what is really alarming. You have to work for one another when you haven't got the ball. And look, we're going to play a Leicester side in a week Friday, and they'll be wanting the ball as much as we want the ball. But how will we deal with them having the ball? It'd be such an intriguing game at such an early point in the season.
Yeah, it really will be Friday night under the lights. We'll cover that in depth next week. But yeah, Rob, can we write this one off to 4 defensive errors and a deflection, and learn from your shit and move on?
I think we'll find out in September whether we have or not. September's a huge month for us. We've got big. I mean, at the start of the season, we thought we were playing basically all of the promotion rivals, right? But it looks like Middlesbrough have dropped off quite massively. Was it 1 goal they've scored or something stupid like that? I know they look with Carrick
at the minute.
Yeah. So we should really be getting 3 points there. I put out a tweet predicting about how many points we would get before the Sunderland game, and there was a lot of like, I went with 9. I think that's still pretty reasonable, but there was a lot of like 10, 12s, maybe some 7s in there. But I think 9 points, we should be looking at that. But if we need to learn from Sunderland, if we're going to be able to get 9 points, because that Leeds team, I'd think anyway, are going to be getting better week on week. Same with Leicester, same as us. Leicester and us have been winning while we're building, which is crucial. So yeah, we've got some massive games coming up, and it's something we have to learn from. The international break came at exactly the right time. Of course, we only have 6 players back at base, but apparently we played a game against Brighton yesterday or something like that. It would have been like youth team. Not sure how we got on. But yeah, we simply just have to learn from it. If we can learn from it, and we go into Leicester and Middlesbrough and all these other games we've got, an Ipswich, huge game, and we look good and we look back to where we were, but maybe a little bit more assured defensively, then yeah, who cares if we lost 5-0? If we can pick up 12 points in September or even 10, that'd be perfect. Yeah, absolutely great.
Yeah, it simply has to be a learning point. Right, let's move on then. Transfers. So it was a reasonably, well, you say reasonably, it was a fucking hectic summer with people leaving the football club and also people coming into the football club. So let's get on to that. Let's talk about who came in, when they came in, and what we think of these guys as footballers. As far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure I know the order, but you guys can help me along the way. I'm fairly sure that the very first to come in was Ryan Manning. Rob, Ryan Manning, what do you make of him? What did you make of that signing?
Yeah. Really, I mean, Manning's been getting a lot of shit recently, a lot of stick, and I think the system leaves him flawed. I do. I mean, we've seen it with Walker Peters. He's been dribbled past crazy amount of times already this year. I think it just leaves the wing backs a little bit too exposed. I really like Ryan Manning. I think we saw against Reading and in Sheffield Wednesday in the earlier games that we had. He just looks so comfortable on the ball. He looks so comfortable in possession, in my opinion. He's great on. I say great. He's decent on set pieces. But the important thing is he knows the system straight away, so he can just instantly come in. 10 assists, 5 goals last season as a left back in a mid-table Swansea team. That's unbelievable numbers. Easily the best left back in the Championship last year. He was in the Championship team of the season, I think it was. Yeah, I love it. I mean, obviously he's starting 11, right? No one's going to start ahead of him. For me anyway. Yeah, I'd probably put him in starting.
Pop him right up there.
He starts every game, so he's got to be.
Yeah, he's got to be, right. He's got to be. Martin, I'll come to you on him, but just for those who are listening rather than watching, we've got a small tier list in front of us. It goes from starting 11, rotation, squad player, jury's out, and what the flipping heck are we doing? Hopefully no one's in that category, but that's all opinion. Martin, Ryan Manning, are we agreeing starting 11?
Oh, absolutely. First name on the team sheet probably for Russell Martin. He took a lot of stick. But like Rob said, he's massively exposed in this system like Kyle Walker-Peters is. But I think he's a good player. You don't get in the team of the year in the Championship if you're rubbish. That's for sure. So I think he's a good signing. Definitely a starter for me.
Cool. In he goes. Starting 11, Ryan Manning. He was followed by, I believe the next one was Shea Charles. One of the ones that is probably our most expensive signing, actually, of the summer. Rob. interesting start for Shea. In my opinion, he's clearly a good player, but he's been shifted about in plenty of positions. Could be a tough one to call. Do you what do you make of him as a player so far?
Well, you don't become captain of the best academy team in Europe, in my opinion, without being quite good at football. And you don't get called up to your national team. I don't care who the national team is. You don't get called up to your national team if you're crap. So Shea Charles, I really like. I think his full starting debut at Plymouth, I believe it was. I thought he was really solid. I thought he had a solid game. When he's come on, like when he came on, I think it was against Norwich in that crazy 4-4 game. He did really shore us up. He's a really good screen to have in front of the back four, and when he did drop into the back four against QPR, he had a great game. So I really like him. I'd probably put him in rotation because we're going to go on to Flynn Downs a little bit later, and I think they complement each other really nicely. But if it was up to me, to be honest with you, at the moment I'd go to Leicester with our midfielders Shea Charles, Flynn Downs, and Adam Armstrong. Because I think if we can have those two play where we're really rubbish defending a strong transition, that could really help us defensively. And we know Downs can play further forward. But yeah, I really like Shea Charles. I think he'll be a really good player for us. I feel quite bad for him because he's having to step into Lavia's shoes, and that's who he's going to get compared to. It's a £60 million player. But yeah, I really like him. I think at this level he'll do really well, and hopefully can make the step up to the Premier League if we get there. So yeah, I like him a lot.
If we get there, yeah. I like him. I like him a lot. Martin, he was sort of being spoken about as the obvious Lavia replacement because of the similarities in the signing, where he came from, positionally, all sorts. Do you see him that way, and where are you in where we should pop him? Because I feel like if I could put somewhere between rotation and starting 11, that's probably where he'd be sat.
Yeah, I'm with you that I don't think he'll start every week, but I think he probably should have started at the weekend, to be fair. I thought he was superb in the home game against QPR. I thought he was brilliant. The fact he went and played centre half and he dealt with the boy Armstrong so well, who's so powerful and strong. I think he's a brilliant signing for us. I think he'd be a player that would be rotated. That we've not started playing Saturday, Tuesday yet, but we will do, and he'd be such a key player. But for his age, at 19 years old, he's nothing like Lavia. I think he's so different to Lavia. The fact he can play centre half and he looks a different style of player. I just think he can steady us up when we really need it, and him and Downs could be really valuable in games where we're maybe getting a bit overrun. He'd be a star, man. Definitely, I like him.
Yeah, he's definitely got potential. So let's pop him. I'll pop him at the top of rotation. He can go there. The next one who followed was, if I remember rightly, chaps, Joe Lumley. Is that right?
Yeah,
I'm right in saying that, right. So we got Joe Lumley, who was a free agent. I can't really. There's not really too much to say, is there, Rob? Would you make a shrewd signing? Bit of depth.
Third choice goalkeeper. I don't think it's WTF because we need a third choice goalkeeper, but he's not very good. Jury's out. We simply just won't see him play. So
definitely, jury's out. I'm with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
if
nothing
Martin's
about
saying
him.
it, there you go. It's hard.
I trust the keeper expert there. Jury's out.
Martin knows.
I've not heard great things about him. I don't think he was very good last season, from what I was told.
No.
Okay, I like it. Jury's out on Joe Lumley. Right, next one in. He took a little while because he decided to eat some raw chicken liver, apparently. Flynn Downs on loan from West Ham. Season long, no obligation or option at the end of it. Rob, all things considered, Downs signing, what do you make of it?
I like it. I really like Flynn Downs. Didn't have a great game against Sunderland, but against QPR is fantastic. I think he'll be a really good player. I mean, he's already done it at this level and then the Premier League move. He's playing under Russell Martin. He's a Russell Martin fan. He's a favourite of the coaching staff. Similar to Ryan Manning, he just slots straight in, knows exactly what he's doing. And he, in his interviews, he always seems very honest. He wants to come here and play games. For me, I'd probably put him, if we could have rotation starting at 11. But I think for a player of his caliber, top championship player, I put him in starting 11. I really like Flynn Downs. I think he's a really good player. I feel like he can play further forward in that number 8 role. We haven't seen the best of him at West Ham. He's openly admitted that he hasn't had the best time of things, and David Moyes has just been using him wrong. He's been using him like the number 10 position and whatnot. It's just stupid. I really like him. It's a shame we don't have an option or an obligation, but I can completely understand why we don't, because from Flynn's point of view, he's here to play football, obviously. But if we don't go up next summer, he probably doesn't want to stay, which completely makes sense. I can understand that from his perspective. But if we can go up, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to come. If he's not, he's not going to get game time ahead of Ward-Prowse or, God, that hurts saying that, doesn't it? Ward-Prowse or Alvarez. So, I put him in starting 11 for me. I really like him.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we got to bear in mind also there'd be another 2 transfer windows in that time that West Ham could sign extra reinforcements. He may be surplus regardless whether we go up or not. So, Martin, Flynn Downs for you. Rob's got him starting 11. Any reason?
Yeah,
you
he's
wouldn't,
starting 11.
or is it?
Yeah, starting 11. Yeah, I think he's the most experienced out of the majority of our midfielders that play in that position. I'm disappointed there's not maybe that option to buy, but I do understand it just in case we don't go up. I think, like Rob said, if we do go up, if we like him and he likes us, and there'd be an opportunity to keep him. But I think he's an absolute starter. Superb against QPR. Didn't play very, and no one played well, did they, at Sunderland? But he'd be a great addition, really.
Yeah, he will be. Starting 11, Flynn Downs. As long as he stays away from the raw chicken, we should be all good. Double swoop. Can't remember who was announced first. I want to say it was Ryan Fraser.
I think it was.
So let's just.
Yeah, I think it was Fraser. Yeah.
Yeah, it was similar because I think Howe
Same
announced
day,
that he was
wasn't
on his way that morning, didn't he? So he kind of knew. So let's talk about him anyway. So interesting one. Ryan Fraser, because he came out of absolutely nowhere, Rob, and suddenly he was with us, and that was it. And then 2 days later, he was off the bench. So, yeah, pretty wild. What do you make of Ryan Fraser?
Well, it's not a name probably would have had at the top of my wish list this summer. I think that's fairly common amongst fans. I don't think he's a bad guy. His interviews have also, he's always in his interviews, he seems very nervous. I don't know if that's me seeing that, but when I watch his Saints interview, or like his interview where he talks about like I don't know what food he likes and that stuff, he just looks very nervous when he's talking. Good cameo against QPR, really injected some pace. And at this level, I'm sure he'll be able to find his feet pretty quickly. There's definitely a player in there. I can't remember how many. I think it was over 20 goals and assists he got in 1 year, top assist record or something. For a season in the Premier League a couple of years ago, 5 years ago. No game time really at Newcastle in a while. It's difficult because if we signed that Teller replacement, which I'm shocked we didn't, then he would be nothing more than a squad player for me. Do you remember when we signed Walcott? And Martin Semmens said that the idea behind Walcott was that he'd come off the bench at 75 minutes and just run at the defence. That's how I think we've signed Ryan Fraser, to kind of act like that. But I think he definitely might have the ability to start on occasion, but not if Sulemana and Edozie are fit. I'm going to go with squad player for the time being, I think. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. But we haven't seen much of him.
Yeah.
And I can completely understand an argument for putting him in rotation, but there's a lot that's not, I don't know. We just don't know that much about him. We haven't played football in a while. Yeah, I'll put him in squad player. But I think he has, if he can really get his head down, there's a player in there can really get his career back on track. And I'd love him to do it, Saints. So, for sure. If we can get his career back on, then why not, right?
Why not? If it benefits us and benefits him, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah, Martin. So this list is probably going to be irrelevant to him because I think he's got a pretty good chance of starting against Leicester, given how poor the wingers were against Sunderland, especially, if I'm honest, especially Edozie. He even cost us the first goal. So I don't know whether he probably will start, but. Again, on the other side, who have you got? And if Camaldine's fit, no one knows. I mean, he looks it in training, but he tells so much from those little clips. Ryan Fraser, what do you make of him? Is he a squad player for you?
Yeah, probably. I don't see him as a regular starter. I think, like Rob said, he'd probably be somebody that comes off the bench once we start getting stretched a bit with injuries, and which we will do. A Dozier pick up knocks, and Campbell Dean's likely to get injuries. Whether we can get him back in the team, which I think we have to. I think the fact that we haven't signed a Teller replacement like they said they were going to, I think, is a little, I'm a bit disappointed about it, because I did think there would be another winger come in, because I think we all felt we needed one. He's going to be more important than we probably thought he was going to be, Ryan Fraser. But yeah, I'd see a Dozy and Campbell Dean over him all day long.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting hearing Russell Martin's thoughts on the whole Teller replacement, because he did say after the QPR game that Fraser, he categorically said that Fraser's not the replacement for Teller.
Yeah.
So whether that he meant that within that time he was hoping to sign one, or whether he meant that keeping hold of Campbell Dean was his replacement, we're only going to know when he says. So that's going to be interesting. Rob, do you think that Campbell Dean could almost feature on this list? Should we keep him as a new signing himself? Could he feel like a new signing this season? You know?
Yeah, I think Campbell Dean Sulemana at this level should be a joke. That he's got so much talent. I genuinely think that for his career, he's only 21 years old or 20, whatever it is. I think for him, a season in the Championship can do him some really good. If you look at his statistics over the last couple of years, he's never really been prolific in front of goal. Goals and assists wise hasn't really been too heavy, especially in Liga. I think really with the Championship, I think there's a real chance here for him to kick on, get some goals under his belt, bit of confidence in front of goal. But yeah, he should be on paper, if he can really get his head down, which I hope he can, and we don't sell him in January, which we obviously still could if he doesn't want to be here. But if he does get his head down, yeah, he'll be the best. He'll probably be one of the most talented players in the league, if not the most talented player in the league. I love Campbell Dean. It's like clipping training. It's just flair. It's different. So it's something you don't really see, like a player just running at the opposition, like we saw against Wolves and at Liverpool and whatnot. But he needs to do it consistently, and he needs to have real impact. So yeah, no, I really I love him. If he can come back and he's what we need, and his attitude's in the right place, then fantastic. If not, same as the others, gonna have to get rid. But I think I think we're right to have that £30 million release clause. I think that's a good valuation for our situation. Just about priced him out of the move, which I think is good.
Just about, yeah. I was saying the same thing the other day. Just about. Right, so we've put him in squad player for now, Ryan Fraser. Same day, Mason Holgate. Mason Holgate signed. So, Rob, you were talking earlier about we briefly touched on Holgate. This one's going to be interesting because he didn't have a particularly good game, shall we say, against Sunderland. Could have played better.
Yeah.
Oh, is that? Do you think that's really? I mean, Russell Martin did. Russell Martin, he did sort of take some accountability for the Mason Holgate. He said, it's my fault for starting him. Can we put it down to the fact that he's not played and he's only been here for 5 minutes? I mean, given the fact that Ryan Fraser had such an impact after 24 hours of signing, is that the excuse? I mean, what do you make of him?
I don't know. I'm going to put him in squad player because I think it's a bit harsh to put him in jury's out. I don't know. I mean, the jury is out on him. Let's be real. It's not going to lie, but I think he definitely. So frustrating because I really thought he would be really good for us. But as I said in my tweet, he's come off the back of a very tough 2 years at Everton, where he said in his interview he didn't really feel wanted, I think it was, or he just wants to play football. So similar to Downs, and he comes here wanting to kind of get his career back on track. This is a player who was touted for like a £50 million move or something a couple of seasons ago when he was younger. So there's definitely a player in there. We've seen that. Not sure what's happened to him in the 2 years since. Maybe he's just got the Everton syndrome where he just turns shit. But yeah, I think his depth, I think it's a good option. But Jesus, that performance was not good. I really hope he can kick on. It's not, he's only had a week, which is unfortunate. But Taylor Harwood-Bellis, I mean, we'll touch on him in a minute. He's got to start against Leicester. The guy's mustard. He's such a good player. But yeah, Holgate, it's a tough one. I'm going to put him in squad player because I think he will play games this year because we only really have 4 centre-backs now that Bella Kotchap's gone. And Zakel probably isn't ready to step up into the first team just yet, which nothing wrong with that. He's only 19, so he shouldn't be expected to. Yeah, I'll put him in squad player, even though the jury is still kind of out on him. But I think there's a player in there, and if we can find that player, he definitely fits the profile of the centre back under Russell Martin, quite similar to Nathan Wood, I'd say. But yeah, squad player for me, Josh.
I like it. Martin Holgate, is it another one of those things where Rob referenced it, saying Down said similar things in that he needs to come and play some football. But I'd say now, if he's playing football like he did on Saturday, he ain't going to play much of it.
He won't get much football here.
He won't get much football if he plays like that again. Is he? It's difficult, isn't it? Because to say that he's not good enough for this level, and he's not good enough for the Premier League level, what is it? Are we instantly saying after one bad game he's League One player? I mean, it would seem harsh. You know, what do you think about Holgate?
I don't think he's a bad player. For starters, I think he was really highly rated by Carlo Ancelotti when he was at Everton. I read an article. He spoke really, really highly about him. He thought he had a wonderful future. Said he was a great player. And that's coming from one of the best managers in the world. So he's obviously seen something in him. Everton have had a horrific couple of years. In the last 2 years, it would have been pretty demoralising for him. I think the fans got on his back there pretty big time as well. He wasn't rated. I don't think he'd come here and play a lot of football. I think he'd be 100% the squad player. You probably won't see a worse debut for a long time. I don't think I've seen a debut quite that bad. But he was thrown in a side. Yeah, he's thrown into a side. And I think in hindsight, he would have played Shea Charles, without question. And I think once Stevens is fit anyway, it'd be either Benderek or he'd play Harwood-Bellis. I think Harwood-Bellis, he's mustard. He knows the division. He was in the title winning side last season. But yeah, we won't see too much of Mason Holgate, I wouldn't have thought, unless we get a load of injuries.
Yeah, agreed. So let me pop him right next to his mate who joined on deadline day with him, Ryan Fraser. There you go, Mason Holgate. You are a squad player. Right. let's get on to the next one. This one was announced fairly early on deadline day, wasn't it? So and by the way, Mason, no hate, mate. We really hope you do well. If you're listening, you did have a shocking debut, but if you want to feel better about yourself, go and watch Jonathan Woodgate's debut for Real Madrid, and you'll feel 10 times better. It gets better, mate. I swear. All right. So let's hope this fella has a better debut for us. Taylor Harwood-Bellis. The word mustard is being banged around a lot. I like it. He is, in my opinion, cream of the crop. Rob, is there any words to describe Harwood-Bellis that actually can cut it? Because he is. I mean, I'm shocked we've even got him, to be honest.
So should we go through it, shall we? So played a lot of the youth groups at England under 21 captain first and foremost. I believe he was named in the team of the tournament for the under 21 Euros that just happened, where he won that tournament without conceding a goal. Crazy. Went to Burnley last year, won the league with Burnley. I believe at times he captained the City PL2 team, similar to Shea Charles. Touted for big things. I'm surprised we haven't got him on a perm of 15 million. I would have been all over that. But yeah.
There is that obligation, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about the obligation for 20 mil. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's great business. Yeah. I'm absolutely over the moon. I did not think we'd get him. I thought the thing is, right, I think it would have been between us getting Callum Doyle, who Leicester obviously got, or Harwood-Bellis. Yeah. I love
Wood was in the conversation too, right?
Yeah, Nathan Wood was in the. But I mean, like, so the 3 English centre backs that I obviously Ronnie Edwards I've been going for ages. Yeah. I love Ronnie Edwards so much. Yeah. I think Harwood-Bellis is better because I just didn't think we'd be able to get Harwood-Bellis because I thought he'd go to the Prem after winning he's done it in the Championship already. I thought he'd go straight to the Premier League or just go back with Burnley. Nathan Wood, I think Harwood-Bellis for 20 million is 20 mil on an obligation is probably better business than maybe 12 to 15 for Wood. Yeah, absolutely over the moon. I think that's signing of the summer for me. Genuinely, I think it's a big statement, But
Yeah.
I think if you look at it, I think it just everything about the Sport Republic way, their philosophy in terms of buying the best young players, building them up. Even though Harbour Bellis doesn't need much to build them up, but making them our own, and then obviously, yes, in 2-3 years' time, we probably sell them for like 50, 60 mil, whatever. But for the time being, what a player to have at this level who's done it before. England, as I said, England under 21 youth captain playing for Saints. You want to see that, don't you? So, yeah, I absolutely love it. Slot him in against Leicester, the perfect player for Russell Martin football as well. So no, I'm over. I was shocked when we managed to get him through. But yeah, I absolutely love it.
Me too. Every time I speak about the signing, it does make me smile. He's got a lot of experience, actually, when you think about it, for his age as well, at senior level. I think if I'm right, he had 2 prior loans before Burnley. One was for companies other side, Anderlecht. And he also went to, I think he was on loan at Blackburn as well.
He was at Stoke as well.
I think.
Stoke.
Well, there you go. So there's another one. He was at Stoke. I didn't know that.
He's had 2 seasons in the champ, so it's pretty good.
Well, there you go. So no, yeah, he's Martin. Is there? I mean, Rob said signing in the summer. Any reason why you say he isn't?
Yeah, I think him and Ross, the next 2 players we're talking about, him and Ross Stewart, are brilliant signings. But yeah, Harbour Bellis, I didn't think we were going to get him in a month of Sundays. When they pulled that one off, I was really shocked. But yeah, he'd be a starter, mate. You would think he'd be straight in the side against Leicester City. He's like you say, he's experienced. He's played loads of Championship football. He's played under a really good manager, but likes to play a similar style to Russ Martin in Vincent Kompany. He's come through a system of playing football. He'd be quality. I think it's an absolute coup for us.
Coup and signing of the summer has been used. Are we saying that is? Are we both saying that is signing of the summer for us? We think.
I think on paper things stand for me. I think yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I like it. So that left one more. He was actually announced after the deadline. Although I'm sure it was done hours before. They were just waiting for us to shit ourselves a bit before they told us. Ross Stewart from Sunderland, 10 million, I believe, is the total. Is that the total package, or is it 10 mil plus? I think it's around that.
I think it's 8. Is it 8 plus 2?
Oh, 8 plus 2. 8 plus.
I think I'm not sure. I think it was something like that. 8 plus 2 or 10 plus 2, something like that. Yeah.
Whatever it is. Yeah, around 10, 12 million, whatever it is, we signed him for total package. I can't say I've seen a lot of him before hearing about him and us linked. Rob, do you know a fair bit about the Loch Ness Drogba?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't really know much before we were linked. We've been linked a lot this summer. Towards the start of the summer, I saw his goal in the League One playoff when Sunderland went up. I saw that goal. I think it was against Wickham. But when you look at it, I think when we were first linked to him, I was originally a little bit underwhelmed because it's like, who the hell is Ross Stewart? Who's a 26-year-old? He's had like 10 games in the Championship or 13 games in Championship. But then you look at his statistics. It's insane. I know some people aren't a fan of statistics, but I think it's the only way that you can actually get to know a player before you sign them. So it's important you look at them, right? Everyone's got to have a track record. 24 goals in League One in the promotion season, and then you've got 10 goals, 3 assists last season before his Achilles injury. Bagsman, that's what it just smells like, an EFL bagsman, doesn't it? It's like when we signed Lambert, right? He has more goals per game than Lambert as well, than when we signed him, which is really cool. Not saying he'll live up to those levels, God no, but it's promising. I really like him. I think he's going to add aerial presence because I know Che likes to throw his weight around a little bit, but he can't really head a ball that well, to be honest with you. I think it'll be good competition for Che when he's fit as well. It's really good. We obviously have the one number 9 spot and having 2 very good options there. Mara, I don't think is. I know he's been picked for the Euro under 21, but I don't think he's really got it in him this year. I don't think we saw the best of him at Sunderland. But I really like Ross Stewart. I think it's a really good signing to have. I think it would have been underwhelming if we didn't keep Che and we were going into the season with Ross Stewart taking Adam Armstrong out of his best position. But yeah, that's another thing. Having those 2 strikers available is going to be really important to keep Armour in his best slot in that number 8 role, because the more he plays there, the better he gets. So keep him there for the time being. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I think he'll add a different dynamic going forward. He scores goals. Danny Ings used to always score goals out of nothing. And when you look at or half chances, when you look at Ross Stewart's goals that he's scored over the last 2 or 3 years, it's very, very similar in my opinion. But he's obviously a little bit more aerially dominant. So I really like it. Probably overpaid a little bit, but that's what you're going to get at the end of the window. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Ross Stewart, and I hope he recovers well from that Achilles injury. And I trust that he will, because there's no way we'll drop 10 million on a striker who potentially, isn't going to recover well from that injury. So I'm fully confident that he'll be fine when he comes back. Yeah,
that's good. So we're saying
I'll bring
rotation. Yeah,
so.
okay, rotation, because the formation's key in that one, right? If you play a 4-4-2, would he be starting 11? Do you think, or is that?
Well, if we play a 4, if we were to play,
I'm not saying that's the Martin way, but
no, I mean, if we were to play a 4-4-2, you'd have to imagine that him and Che would start up top. But then there's the case for Armour. But I think if we continue what we're playing, 4-3-3, 4-3-3 with 2 number 8s, 1 striker, winger. I think, I drop Armour into that number 8, and then let Che and Ross Stewart fight over that starting position. And hopefully by the end of the year, they're both getting call-ups to Euro 2024. So let's hope so, right?
Yeah. There's lots to talk about his injury record. Does that concern you at all, really, or
not really? Because talk about injury record, his only major injury he's had is the one he's currently got. When we signed Danny Ings, he'd already had an ACL or something, wasn't it? Was it 2 ACLs? Something ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yes, 2, I think. Yeah,
2 ACL injuries.
He was riddled, yeah.
2 ACL injuries and multiple more. Ross Stewart has only had 1, I think, anyway, from what I can remember, and that's his Achilles, which is obviously it's a bad injury, but it's nothing as severe or close to as bad as a knee injury. So no, big fan. I hopefully he'll recover. And as I said, I don't think we would drop £10 million on a striker in the later stage of the window without knowing that injury was going to be okay when he comes back. And hopefully he'll be back for October. Let's hope so.
Yeah, hopefully he's back on the grass for September and playing in October. Let's go rotation. Just one more on Ross Stewart, because it's really interesting, mate. We will wrap up in a sec, but with Ross Stewart, say for example he comes in October and he's the bagsman that he is, and he's scoring these goals, and he keeps Che out of the side for a run. Do you think that Che Adams, given the window we've just had, would just fuel him to say I'm off in January if Ross Stewart somehow manages to keep Che out of the squad, sort of October onwards? It's very much sort of
I don't think
now, but
I don't think Saints would let him go in Jan. I'd like to think we wouldn't, because we need the depth, It's similar to what people have been saying about Sulemana. If you want to move, you've got to play well and get that move. And so far, Che's been doing that. So fair play to him. But I think it'd be pretty pathetic if you let someone just come in and take your position and not have something to say about it. I think you got to really do a little bit better there and kind of force your way into the team. Because at the end of the day, whichever club he goes to, he's going to, if he ended up at Wolves, Sasa Kalajic has just hit form. So he's still got Fabio Silva to play up against. So that, there's still going to be people there. He's not guaranteed a starting spot just because he can throw his toys out of the pram. And he hasn't. I'm not saying he has, but if that does happen, then there's 1 spot to fight for and 2 of you to fight for it. So you better get scoring and training, don't you? But I don't see if that does happen. That would surprise me personally. I think now that he's stayed, I think there's a good chance of him signing that contract, especially with Stevens out. He could become captain. But I can completely understand if he wants to be closer to home. But I've always said it, I'd rather keep him this year. He'd be way more invaluable to us this year, scoring us like 20 goals and then leaving on a free rather than selling for 15 million and potentially only play the season with 1 really strong striker up top. Now that obviously Onuachu's off to Transipor by the looks of things. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, if any like that gets done for Big Paul for his own sake, bless his heart. Martin, just to wrap it up on the signings, just so you can hop in on the Ross Stewart conversation. What did you make of the Ross Stewart signing, and should he be looking to kick Che out of that spot and try and make it his own? As I ask it, he drops out. Fantastic, no worries. So that'll be it then. So Rob, thank you, mate. Thank you very much
No,
for
no problem at all, mate.
joining us.
Anytime.
It's been good. Catch us next week. We will be doing a review. A preview, not a review, for the Leicester game and the Ipswich game, because we play them the following Tuesday. So it'll be our first sort of Friday, Tuesday of the season. It's going to be interesting to see how the boys fare up on that. But yeah, in the meantime, make sure if you enjoy it, give us a follow, drop a subscribe, and head over if you want to join in with this. By the way, this ranking system. If you disagree with any of our picks here, there is a link. I'll put it in the description. You could go and make your own and send it over to us and tell us how clueless we really are. That'd be fun. That'd be brilliant to see. And yeah, give the guys a follow. For anything to do with Saints, they are your men. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week.